Hello, everyone, and welcome to the QT2 Systems My Greatest Moment podcast. Our featured athlete today is Emily Wivell. She is an ultra runner with the Run Formula, coached by Amy Rosiecki. So, Emily, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So you just finished a huge race. Just tell everyone what it is, because I want it to sort of sink in, and then I'm going to take you backwards to how you got here. So just start with the race that you did.
Gotcha. So 2 weeks ago, I just finished the Grand to Grand Ultra, which is a 7-day, 6-stage, 171-mile self-supported stage race from the north rim of the Grand Canyon in Arizona to the top of the Grand Staircase in Utah.
It's amazing. I can't even imagine having done that. So, all right. So we're going to come back to that, and we're going to talk about that race a lot, but I want to back you up. So when did you first start running?
So going way back, I ran track in high school. And then, after that, I got out of running for a few years. It was about 2014. My best friend and I ran a 5K. It was like beer at the end, and we're like, yeah, great, a 5K. And then I kind of caught the bug. I remember that fall, I went for a run. Well, I told myself, if I can go run this 10 miles around my house, this loop, I'm going to sign up for a half marathon. And I did. So the fall of 2014, I ran a half. And then I was like, okay, well, let's do a marathon. So in 2015, I ran a marathon. From there, I was like, okay, what's next? So 2016, I jumped to a 50-miler. Then, finished that. Okay, what's next? 2017, I attempted my first 100. I DNF'd. But looking back, that's probably the best thing that ever happened. It was that DNF. 2018, I finished my first 100, and kind of the rest is history. I got hooked on ultras and trail running.
Yeah. So what is it about ultras and trail running that excited you compared to road running?
Well, one, the people, right? The people are different. But I just needed ultras. I think you always, watching your step, and you have to pay attention. And I got, get bored on the road. So trails, I don't know, I felt like a kid running through the woods, right? So I think just a little bit more fun, getting muddy and, snowy and stuff like that.
So you live in Vermont, right?
I do. Yep.
Lots of good trails around you. Good opportunities.
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah. All right. So when did you start working with your coach, with Coach Amy at the Run Formula?
So it was right before the pandemic. It was like February of 2020.
Okay. And how did you find her?
So I think it was that, the Vermont 100 lottery that year. I put myself, in the lottery. I didn't get in. I was on the wait list second to last, and I was bummed because that was my first 100, and I was ready to go back, right? Like I wanted to, I'm going for that 500-mile buckle. So I didn't get in, second to last. I'm like, I don't know. So a couple weeks later, they sent out an email like, hey, if you sign up with coaching, you'll get an entry into the Vermont 100. And I think I was at work. I stopped everything I was doing and emailed right back. And yeah, that's how. It's probably the best thing that happened as far for my running goes, because if I would have gotten in and not been on the wait list, I never would have probably even thought about, working with someone like Amy or something like that.
Yeah. So how did Amy change how you approached your training or your racing?
It's that accountability. So I was, I always ran up to them, but it was, I would always find good excuses not to go run that day. but I kept telling myself, oh, Amy's watching, like I can't skip today. So it was that, that little bit of accountability, but really gearing it towards what my goals were and going after and stuff. So, yeah, they're just the structure of it too. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and it helps too. So Amy, for people who are watching this that don't know, is also the race director of the Vermont 100. So that came the connection, has a ton of trail racing experience. So she knows what she's talking about when she coaches you. So all right. So we talked about, so you ended up racing the Vermont 100 then in what year was that? Because you start February with Amy, but
then COVID took it out for 2021. And so this year I went back to, this July.
Yeah. Okay. So most people would say, all right, well, that's a pretty big accomplishment. You just did 100-miler, but you weren't quite done yet. So it was on your way for this next experience. All right. So here we are now. So 2 weeks ago, so end of September, you just did the Grand to Grand. So tell us more about that event. You said it was 7 days, 6 stages, right? Okay. Yep. So walk us through a little, like how much you were running each day, the kind of terrain, just generally on the race.
At the race. So, well, I'll start with the terrain. It's coming from Vermont, trees and mountains, humidity. It's not, it gets hot here, but it's Vermont. So you go out there, they dump you in the desert, right? The north rim of the Grand Canyon is where it starts. You're through the first day, it's like roads, right? Well, desert roads, if you call that a road. But across fields of cactus. Like you can't run or you'll get a cactus needles in your feet. And then it takes you up, you do climbing up some mountains, a lot of it, kind of bushwhacking with cactuses. I don't know. There's a couple times where, you're following little pink flags or pink ribbons. And I remember on the third day, I came into a checkpoint and they're like, okay, Emily, you're going to go down here and you're going to turn right. And some cows ate the pink ribbons off, so they're going to be further apart than they should be, but they're out there. And I'm like, oh man. So there were times, and they just like tie them onto desert shrubs. And yeah, the cows ate them because there were some missing and I'm standing there like, I don't know where to go. But you're going down into riverbeds and then steep right back up, not on trails. There's a lot of soft sand. I'm in Vermont. I don't run on the sand. I don't know how to do this. So, relentless soft sand up to your ankles. You go over sand dunes. I hit sand dunes it was 10 or 11 at night. I remember running up to the first one and there's a little LED light on the flag at the top. And I'm like, you want me to go up there? Like 2 stories straight up. The sand dunes were incredible. Like to turn off your headlamp and just look at the stars, not a soul around, was pretty amazing. Sand dunes, more soft sand, more cross-country cactus fields with cows in the dark. Slot canyons were amazing. I've never run through a slot canyon, and I can tell you I was on cloud 9 that day. Little rock climbing up a rope through tunnels. Yeah, they throw a little bit of everything through riverbeds where it had rained, but they had dried up and it was like slick mud, like you just sliding everywhere. And then you finish the grand staircase with trees, and I kind of looked like I was back home. So yeah, they throw a lot. mileage wise, the first day was about a 50K. Then it was a marathon. Then the long stage was 53-ish miles. Then 2 more marathons, and then the last day was like 7 or so miles. So yeah.
So how many people started the race?
68.
How many finished?
Well, there's a 49% DNF rate, so what are 30 couple?
Wow. Wow. So were there times that you thought, I can't do this while you were out there?
I never got to the point where I was like, I'm gonna quit. There was none of that. There was the long stage when I'm going through this stupid cactus field with, I don't know. I was angry then. And I kept asking like, who does this stupid stuff? Like, why am I here? This is dumb. I could be sleeping in my bed right now. But that was really the only moment. A couple times across that, because it seemed to go on for miles and miles.
It
But that
probably
was
did
about
go on for miles and miles.
it did, yeah. It never ended. So yeah, that was really the only moment where I was starting to have a little bit of a mental breakdown out there. But
So what did you tell yourself to get through it?
it was kind of like, once I got through the who does this stupid stuff, I was like, I do. I
Yeah.
signed up for it, you know what I mean? Like, I think only less than 800 people in the world have ever finished it. So I was like, I'm doing something that most people never have and never will. So sort of embrace it, suck it up and get it done. And yeah.
Okay. So at night between the stages, where did you sleep?
So we were in tents. It was pre-assigned tents. We started with 7 in my tent and ended up finished with 5. So literally the only thing that they provide is a tent that you share with, 7, 8 other people, and water. So we slept in communal tents on the ground. And they literally pitched the tent wherever the tent belonged. So some nights there was like stumps and tire ruts and on a hill. One night we got lucky with soft sand, which was amazing. So yeah, I slept on the ground.
All right. So self-supported, not just during the race, but 24 hours a day for a week. So how did you take care of your nutrition? What'd you do?
So it was a lot of dehydrated meals for dinner. The typical, tailwind oatmeal at breakfast. You try to pack light, but still, I mean, they have a minimum calorie count that you have to have per day, and they weigh your food, and you have to have 1.1 pounds a day of food. So that was a whole new ball game for me. Like, nobody goes and eats dehydrated meals for fun. So, and I'm sitting there counting calories and weighing things, and yeah, that's a whole new. At the end though, the food, it worked out. I ate dehydrated mac and cheese and chicken and dumplings and tailwind and some oatmeal.
So you had to carry that with you while you were running. They
Mhm.
didn't. Wow. I figured they would take stuff for you and you'd have
Nope,
dinner, something. I know you had to carry everything with you.
everything.
Okay.
So my pack was about 21 pounds without water on day 1.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, you chose to do this.
I did, yeah, and I
Yeah.
paid for it. Yep.
So when you were doing your first back to 5K so 8 years ago, do you ever imagine that this is where you would have ended up?
No,
No.
not at all. I mean, it was, I don't know. I remember my first marathon and I puked all over my shoes, and I thought I was gonna die, and no way did I think I'd end up here. But I realized that week that I was out there that that's right where I was meant to be. I think I'm not a fast runner. I don't have the speed. I don't go crank out 6-minute, 5-minute miles, right? That's not me. But I've got the endurance. And I figured, I have to embrace my strengths. And I think stage racing, love the community and love, I don't know, they're just a lot of fun to me. So yeah, 8 years ago, no way.
So how did you find out about this event? It seems like one that I've never heard of before. It's not mainstream. So how did you find out about it?
It sounds stupid, but it was one of those dumb Facebook ads that showed up on my Facebook a few years ago now, and I had my eye on it. And I always look, oh, that looks kind of cool, but I don't think I can do it. Right? I had that doubt, like this seems pretty extreme. But then I think the last few years, I've grown as a runner, right? My confidence has improved as well. And as crazy as it sounds, like I was bored of marathons. Then I did 50 and I was like, oh, I can do 50, I can do 100. Well, I'm always looking for that next thing that I've never done. And this was it. So registration opened in November. And I remember like sitting at my computer and I was like, well, it's now or never. I'm gonna throw my name in. And yeah, off I went.
Yeah. Wow. So do you have another next now that you've done this? Anything else that's been catching your eye?
I'm still living the high from 2 weeks ago, but I've got ideas. I know there's a lot more stage races out there. So one of those, but I also, there's 200s out there too. So I don't know. I don't have anything. My calendar is empty right now. I'm trying to figure out what is next, but I've got ideas. It's hard though, because when you do something like that, it's hard to find. Like I've been looking and I'm like, oh, that sounds too easy. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the thing with doing something epic, is that not everything can be epic. It's hard to match, but I mean, gosh, this is something you're going to take for the rest of your life. You're going to remember this. And
yeah, it's one of those things, a lifelong memories and friends that came out of it. So I find myself daily going back and looking at pictures like, oh, I miss it. So.
That's awesome. Life altering, not just life memories, life altering, right?
It was, I came, the first week back home, I kind of felt a little lost. I was like, because while you're out there, you also had no phone, no computer, none of that. You're pretty much cut off, which is what I loved. I was like, no one to bug me. This is great. So yeah, the memories are there though.
So were you wearing a tracking device while you were out there?
Nope.
So how would people know if something happened to you?
Like how would race people know?
Yeah, how would race people know?
Like, so they have a whole, like you had to bring emergency equipment, like a compass, signal mirror, a whistle, stuff like that. So they told you if you got lost, blow your whistle, stuff like that. They had like a whole search and rescue team in the background that you hoped you never saw them, because if you did, your race was over. They also had horses to act sort of as sweepers, that if they had to get somebody out of there quickly, horse was going to be the fastest way to do it. Luckily, the course is well marked. There were times though where I lost the next pink marker and was backtracking to the last one I saw and standing there trying to find the next one. So it is marked, but I guess, they tell you if you do get off course, you're lost, blow your whistle, because there will be sweepers behind you to to listen and try to help you out. So.
Boy, seems like it would just be easier to put a tracking device on you to know where you are, but
Yeah.
that wouldn't be the spirit of this race, though. That's for
It wouldn't be self-supported, I guess. I don't, if they have to
sure.
come hunting you down, I don't know.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, when Amy told me about what you did, I was blown away. But now hearing you talk about it, it takes it to a whole different level. So
Yeah, it's a little extreme now looking back on it. Yeah, I mean, I was like, I don't like snakes, so I was terrified of rattlesnakes. And I kept saying, like, look, snakes, you have the whole desert out here. You don't need to be right in front of my path. And luckily I didn't see any. So that was my biggest fear, though, was rattlesnakes.
yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Gosh, well, thank you so much, Emily. Your story is amazing, and I can't wait to hear where what really pulls you the next time around. But now take it in, just really keep experiencing it all. And thanks for taking the time to talk to us today.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, have a good one.